You may be shocked to learn that the multicultural utopia you live in isn't perfect. How could he say such a thing? Believe me, I can hear your gasps of bewilderment through my bloody computer screen. Oh, amazing, I know. In the short lifespan of this YouTube channel, I've covered a few issues that relate to this. In March, I did a video about acid attacks on the rise in London. Insane numbers down there. And a couple of months ago I did a video about Pakistani inbreeding, where British Pakistanis are marrying and having kids with their first cousins or sometimes even relatives closer than their first cousins, which of course increases the risk of having kids with genetic illnesses, backed up by the fact that Pakistani children are disproportionately represented in that category, and the cost to the NHS every year is estimated to be in the billions of pounds. But you know, we can't talk about that. Can't talk about these things. So today I'll be tackling another cheery subject, something that has enriched our culture beyond measure. Something that we would not have in this country if it weren't for our multicultural mass immigration idea of a utopia. I'm of course talking about female genital mutilation. Female genital mutilation is on the rise in England. There were 9,179 cases of FGM in England in the past year, but not one successful prosecution. Things are going ever so well. The NHS in England recorded 5,391 new cases of female genital mutilation in the past year, data reveals. Almost half involved women and girls living in London, NHS Digital found. Now, why that is, we'll get onto in a second. A third were women and girls born in Somalia, while 112 cases were UK-born nationals. Here's a question for my audience. Why do you think almost half of the women and girls involved in FGM in the United Kingdom were living in London? Any hands? Put your hands up if you want to answer that. Yes, you at the back. What do you want to say?
Is it because London's ravaged by mass immigration from third world nations?
10 points to the man at the back there. Great answer. Absolutely correct. This is the second time the NHS has released England's FGM figures, and since the first report, the number of FGM cases has increased by over 5,000, according to the BBC. A concerning rise in the practice. Yeah, it's concerning. Yeah. It's worrying. They always use that word, don't they? Concerning. I'm concerned about this sudden rise in horrible FGM cases. This barbaric practice in 21st century Britain. Yes, I'm concerned about this. They can't come across too strong in their language. Someone might take it the wrong way. FGM is the practice of cutting or injuring the genitals of young girls for cultural or religious reasons. UK law considers the practice a form of child abuse due to the lack of medical necessity and the severe, sometimes life-threatening, physical and psychological effects. And there's nothing there that I would disagree with. The practice is illegal in the UK and it's compulsory for family doctors, hospitals and mental health trusts to report any new cases in their patients. FGM carries a sentence of up to 14 years in jail, but that doesn't matter because, as we read before, nobody's been prosecuted. You can say you'll be sent to jail for 14 years, but nobody's been... Not one prosecution. Not one. A really strong message you're sending out there, isn't it? According to the NHS, almost 1 out of every 2 newly recorded women and girls live in the London NHS commissioning region, 47%. It was also found that just 25% of newly recorded women and girls presenting with FGM have a known country where the practice was undertaken. So most of them, we don't even know where they got it done. It was found that most women and girls reported having undergone FGM between the ages of 5 and 9, 45%, while 5% had it performed on them when they were over 18. A total of 94% of women and girls with FGM attending NHS trusts and GP practices were taken out of the country to undergo FGM. Let's not beat around the bush here. There's no native Brits undergoing FGM, is there? These people would have been either immigrants or born to immigrant families. So they live in the United Kingdom, then they leave it to go to some shithole halfway around the world to subject their kids to genital hacking. And then they come back and just carry on as normal. Great. Now you may be thinking, well, this is awful. It's a barbaric cultural practice that belongs in the Dark Ages. It doesn't even belong there. But at least, if there is any sort of positive out of this, at least they have to leave the country to get it done. They can't just get it done in the UK. Well, hold your horses, guys, because FGM parties are taking place in the UK, a health charity warns. An FGM party. Wow. You know, parties are things where you go and celebrate something, like, oh, Bill got a new job. Mary and Steve are getting married. Oh, congratulations. It's my birthday. Happy birthday to me. Nobody turned up. But parties because of FGM. Are you kidding me? Girls are attending FGM parties in cities across England, according to reports from a health charity. The Black Health Initiative in Leeds told the BBC that midwives are deliberately being flown in from Africa to cut girls in group ceremonies. So now they're bloody flying them in. First class, plane ticket, get over here, bring your scalpel. What we're finding now is that where once girls were taken abroad to be cut, specialist midwives are now flown over and several girls are cut at the same time, which then leads to a celebration. said Heather Nelson, chief executive of the Black Health Initiative. So it's a group event, a community event. You know, everyone's together, enjoying the company, having a bit of banter, having a few drinks, or maybe not, depending on the religion. There's a buffet maybe, you know, with some cheese on sticks and sausage rolls. And once people have caught up, you know, like, oh, how are you doing? How's the kids? All that sort of stuff. Once all that's out the way, okay, onto the genital mutilation, the main event. Let's get it going. I'm sorry if I'm being sarcastic and sort of humorous about this, but what else can I do? The authorities are aware it's a massive problem, and yet they've prosecuted nobody. So what am I supposed to do here? I mean, it's disgrace. 21st century Britain, FGM parties. I mean, give me a break. What are we doing here? Speaking to Global Citizen, Nelson explained that as communities are becoming more aware of stricter border control policies to prevent young girls from being taken out of the country for FGM, some families are deciding to have their girls cut in the UK. So you can't bloody win here, can you? You want tighter borders to stop this sort of thing from happening? Okay, fine, we'll just get it done in the UK. Saves us a plane ride, I guess. Saves a bit of cash. A number of families will pool their money together and fly over a midwife to perform the procedure, she said. It's more economical this way. In some communities, there is also a celebration at the end. Some see it as a rite of passage. While the claims may be shocking, the practice of celebrating FGM is widely and deeply held. In parts of Kenya, the event is marked with ceremonial rituals and feasting that involves the whole community. Seen in part as a coming-of-age tradition marking the transition to womanhood, FGM is more than a clinical procedure, but one that leaves physical and psychological scars. Well, no surprise. It's interesting to me, though. They see this as a coming-of-age tradition, marking the transition from girlhood to womanhood. Yet, just a little bit of research on the average age at which FGM is performed. And this information is from the United Nations Population Fund, by the way, so I'm not just pulling this out my arse. In some areas, FGM is carried out during infancy, as early as a couple of days after birth. In others, it takes place during childhood, at the time of marriage, during a woman's first pregnancy, or after the birth of her first child. Recent reports suggest that the age has been dropping in some areas, with most FGM carried out on girls between the ages of 0 and 15. Yeah, so the transition from girlhood to womanhood starts in infancy, I guess. Although we shouldn't be surprised at that, considering child marriage is very common in these areas too. So I suppose their definition of what constitutes a woman is very different to mine and yours. There's more information on this site that I think is very interesting. Is there a link between FGM and the risk of HIV infection? When one tool is used to cut several girls, as is often the case in communities where a large group of girls are cut on the same day during a socio-cultural rite, there is a risk of HIV transmission. So in these parties that happen in the UK apparently, you better believe there's a risk. Additionally, due to the damage to the female sexual organs, sexual intercourse can result in the laceration of tissue, which greatly increases the risk of HIV transmission. The same is true for the blood loss that accompanies childbirth. There's also this bit of information that is definitely going to be controversial, but it's on the UN website, so let's have a look at it. What is the link between FGM and ethnicity? Ethnicity is the most significant factor in FGM prevalence, cutting across socioeconomic class and level of education. Cutting across that doesn't matter. Members of certain ethnic groups often adhere to the same social norms, including whether or not to practice FGM, regardless of where they live. The FGM prevalence among ethnic Somalis living in Kenya, for example, at 94%, is similar to the prevalence in Somalia, and far higher than the Kenyan national average of 21%, according to the most recent information available. I just wanted to put this in here because that's very interesting, isn't it? A link between FGM and ethnicity. Quite a controversial subject, if I do say so myself, but take it for what it is. I'll put the link in the description below so you can learn more about it. There is currently no reliable data on the full extent of FGM in the UK, but research from London City University estimates that there are 137,000 women in England and Wales who have been subjected to the procedure. Between April 2015 and March 2016, 5,700 new cases of FGM were reported in the UK, which amounts to 16 cases reported every day. The news that FGM parties are taking place in the UK is a sign that continued effort is needed to engage communities in wiping out the practice. Yes, continued effort to engage the communities. Engage the communities. What soft bloody language is this? Yeah, engage them by telling them not to do it. Stop it or go to jail. All of you. Everyone who's attending these parties, knowing what's going on, knowing what these kids are going to be subjected to, jail time. Immediately. Or if you're not a British citizen, deportation. Bang. Gone. I don't want this in my nation. What a soft approach to tackling this issue. And back to the UN website here. Since FGM is part of a cultural tradition, can it still be condemned? What a question. I'm sure there's a lot of people asking that. Wait a minute. This is a cultural tradition, a non-white cultural tradition. These people are immigrants. Can I condemn their barbaric practices? Please tell me, UN. Thankfully, they say yes. Culture and tradition provide a framework for human well-being, and cultural arguments cannot be used to condone violence against people, male or female. I agree. Moreover, culture is not static, but constantly changing and adapting. Nevertheless, activities for the elimination of FGM should be developed and implemented in a way that is sensitive to the cultural and social background of the communities that practice it. I don't want to be sensitive towards this. I don't want to be sensitive towards the communities that practice female genital mutilation in Britain in the 21st century. What do you mean be sensitive to them? Tell them that it's unacceptable and to stop doing it. Or they will face consequences. What is so hard about that? This tippy-tappy eggshell approach to solving this shit is unbelievable. Is it a problem? Yes. Is it barbaric? Yes. Is it acceptable? No. What are we going to do about it? Be sensitive to the cultures that practice it? What? Nothing surprises me anymore. All this cultural enrichment we're being exposed to here in the UK is just wonderful, isn't it? Thank God we're experiencing new things. Things that we would never have experienced without the current policies that our government have implemented over decades. Where's all the feminists? Where are they? Why isn't this an issue? Why isn't this the issue that they're concerned about? What kind of country are we turning into? Have we turned into? When this can be an increasing problem and nothing's done about it. No one's been prosecuted, no one's been arrested, no one's been sent to jail. How do we move forward? How do we stop this? We have to get tough here. Either the law counts for something or it doesn't. Enforce the law. Don't be sensitive to the cultures or the communities that practice it. Sensitive is the last thing you need to be in regards to this. You should have zero tolerance for this. But I guess we can't do that because part of living in a multicultural society is having tolerance tattooed on your bloody forehead and being open to the world and all the garbage cultural practices that they'll bring here that we'll have to deal with. It's pathetic. Thank you very much for watching once again, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video, even though the subject wasn't a cheery one. As always, as I say in every video, a massive thank you to my patrons. Your support is very much appreciated. Please consider pledging to my Patreon, link is down below. Your support will help me continue making content, and hopefully entertaining you all. If you guys haven't watched my last video about hate speech in Germany that I released on Tuesday, go check it out, it's a good one. And my big media announcement is at the end of that video too. Until next time guys, see you later.